All right, let's just dive right in. Today, we are tackling a problem that I think pretty much every single one of us has struggled with. And man, can it be frustrating. Why is it so incredibly hard to stay consistent with our goals?
So let's kick things off with a really powerful idea, one that might just challenge everything you believe about your own efforts. It's this: you don't fail because you're weak. You fail because you rely on motivation. Just let that sink in for a second. It suggests that the very thing we think we need to succeed might actually be the very reason we keep failing.
And that leads us right into our first big idea, what I like to call the motivation myth. We're going to really unpack why our best intentions, all that excitement we feel when we first start something new, why it almost always seems to just fizzle out, leaving us right back at square one. Here's the huge misconception we've all been sold. We're told that if we just had more willpower, more grit, more discipline, then we'd finally stick to our goals. But what if that's not the whole picture? What if we've been focusing on the wrong thing this entire time? So, if it's not about discipline, then what is it about? Well, it's about having standards. And let's be super clear on what that means. A standard is simply a pre-decided set of rules for how you're going to behave, and this is the key part, regardless of how you feel. It's not about emotion, it's about a decision you make one time, and then you just execute. And here's the fundamental flaw with relying on motivation. It's a feeling, right? It's an emotion. And emotions, well, they're unreliable. They come and go. So if your whole system for getting things done depends on you feeling good, you've basically designed a system that's guaranteed to fail the second things get a little tough. Real progress isn't made on the easy days, it's built on the hard ones. This whole reliance on motivation, it actually traps us in this really predictable, super frustrating pattern. We can call it the cycle of quitting, and I have a feeling this is going to look very, very familiar to a lot of you. Okay, so let's walk through this cycle. See if this sounds familiar. Step one, motivation. You are fired up. You're excited. The energy is through the roof. Then comes step two, action. For a few days, maybe even a week, you are crushing it. And then step three happens, resistance. You get a bad night's sleep. You have a stressful day at work. It's raining outside. Life happens. And because your entire system is built on feeling motivated, you hit step four. You quit. And you don't just adjust or scale back a little bit, you stop completely, telling yourself you'll just start again fresh on Monday. So what's really going on in that resistance phase? Well, this brings us to the hidden force that's derailing all of our progress: comfort. Let's talk about why our brain's natural desire for comfort is actually the real enemy of consistency. Okay, this is absolutely crucial to get. Our brains are hardwired to seek comfort and avoid discomfort. So the moment that resistance hits, your brain starts whispering these incredibly logical sounding excuses. You know the ones. You're tired, you totally deserve a break, or skipping just one day won't even matter in the long run. Comfort literally hijacks your logic and makes quitting feel like the smartest, most rational choice you could make. And that leads to this powerful mindset shift. We love to celebrate the big wins, right? The milestones, the achievements. But real, lasting consistency, it's not built there. It's forged in the fire of those days when you absolutely do not want to do the thing, but you do it anyway. Those are the days that matter most, the boring, uncomfortable ones. So if motivation is the trap and comfort is the enemy, what's the solution? This is where we completely flip the script. Instead of trying to rise to our goals, we're going to talk about falling to your standards. This is the system that creates real bulletproof consistency. Honestly, if you only take one thing away from this whole explainer, let it be this: you don't rise to your goals, you fall to your standards. Think about it. On your worst days, your most tired days, when you have absolutely zero motivation, you're not going to perform at your best. You are going to perform at the level of your minimum acceptable standard. The only question is, how high or how low is that standard? And the difference between these two systems is it's night and day. Motivation is always asking one question: do I feel like it? It's emotional, it's completely unreliable, and it makes every single action negotiable. Standards, on the other hand, they ask a totally different question: what is the rule? That's logical, it's dependable, and the result is non-negotiable. The decision has already been made. Okay, so this all sounds great in theory, right? But how do we actually do it? Let's get practical and talk about the how-to, a really simple mental shift that honestly changes everything.
The very first step, and this is a big one, is you have to recognize and completely eliminate the question that kills all consistency. You have to consciously train yourself to stop asking, "Do I feel like it?" Because that question is an invitation for your emotions to come to the decision-making table, and that's exactly where all the negotiation and all the excuses begin. And you replace that old question with this new, much more powerful one. What's the rule? So let's say your rule is, I walk for 20 minutes every morning. When your alarm goes off and you're tired, you don't ask yourself how you feel. You just ask, what's the rule? The rule is, I walk for 20 minutes. End of discussion. Action follows. And when you make this shift, the benefits are huge. First off, rules just remove emotion from the whole equation. Your pre-decided standards get rid of that daily, exhausting negotiation with yourself. And over time, this new action starts to become automatic, kind of like brushing your teeth. Your behavior is simply no longer up for debate. So as we start to bring this all together, let's just bust one final myth. We often think that being consistent means we have to go all out, 110% every single time. It doesn't. That's not a recipe for consistency, that's a recipe for burnout. When you boil it all down, consistency is simply about showing up. It's about honoring the standard you set for yourself and doing the work, especially on the days when you would rather be doing literally anything else. That is where real, meaningful progress is actually made. So that really leaves us with one final crucial question for you to think about. When you look at your own goals, at your own life, are you trying to build it on the shifting, unreliable sands of motivation, or are you building it on the solid foundation of your standards? Because the answer to that question, well, that's what's going to determine everything.